We'll give another minute for people, latecomers, to arrive, and then we'll start.
Piling on it. Speaker, Camille, Shay, Cody, Edward, Fergus. Oh, cool. Jackie, Jill, Jim, Josephine. Right.
Let's get going, shall we?
I reckon.
Okay, great. Ngā mihi kia koutou. Welcome to Feeding the City, a conversation with Levi Brinsdon-Hall, the co-founder of OMG Market Garden, which is a really inspiring project that I'm sure you've all heard of by For the Love of Bees and Tamaki Makoto's Eden Terrace. My name's Jeremy Hansen. I work for Britomart Group, which manages the 9-block precinct above Britomart Station. We do a series of what we call good citizen talks in real life and online through the year. And we're really proud to present this one as part of the first ever Auckland Climate Festival. And on that note, I wanted to do a big shout out to Michelle and the team at the Auckland Climate Festival for launching it this year and for putting climate at the centre of so many conversations over the past month or so. A really warm welcome to all of you. Just a note for you super keen gardeners that are here for that content particularly, we'll be taking some of your questions and talking specifically about gardening things and about the last quarter of an hour of today's session. So you can post those questions in the chat whenever you feel like it, and we'll get to those. Mostly though, a really warm welcome to our guest this evening, Levi Brinsdon-Hall. Hi, Levi.
Hey, Jeremy.
Were you down in the garden today? How was it?
It was good. I was there in the morning before this lovely soft rain set in. But man, I gotta say, I do love weather like this. I wish it was like this all the time, to be honest.
I wanted to take you back to the start. What got you involved in this project in the first place?
Yeah, man, decent little story there. So about 8 years ago, it was about 8 years ago actually, 7 years ago, I had no idea how to grow a single thing. I'd never grown really a planted a seed in my life. And at that time I was studying at Elam, Auckland University, Fine Arts, and I was coming up close to the end of my honours year, and I was very interested in, I guess I've got a very big heart. I've got a very big heart and I feel very deeply for the state of the world. University taught me that a whole lot of stuff out there is kind of wrong. You know, you're brought up so innocent and then you go and learn critical thought and economic relations and you're sort of like, oh my God, where's the morals in this world? What are we doing here? And there's all these problems that just sort of keep sort of, you know, getting thrown out there. I went through university making a lot of art about these things. So I did photography and I did public sculpture, and that was all to do with issues around climate change and sort of the relationship between, I guess, human and nature. And it was a whole lot of things that happened. I actually met Sarah about 4 years ago, the founder of For the Love of Bees, the vision holder.
This is Sarah Smits-Kennedy.
Sarah Smits-Kennedy, yep, Sarah Smits-Kennedy, and invited her to do a workshop. at one of my final exhibitions at university, and she brought in a whole lot of seeds from her Mongakereru, her beautiful biodynamic garden, and we sowed them. And at that same time, I just moved into a flat, and I started a beautiful relationship with my now partner Ella Rose, who's a gardener, and I was sick of being angry, and I had this space which was just my backyard, to sort of do what I wanted with, and I was just immensely empowered with these seeds that sort of sprouted and grew into my first garden, and that was 8 years ago, and that was just a huge moment when I realized that I guess most people, they look at nature, or you look at, we were talking about this earlier, you look at green things and you're just like, oh, it's just green things, isn't it nice, oh, there's some trees or some, like just some plant species. I don't really have much interest in what exact one is, but once I realized that as a human you can just collaborate with these plants and create these incredible, because I look at everything from an art. I just think everything's magical, and when I realized that you can sort of plant a seed, and that these little living sculptures emerge that feed you to this insane level of abundance and nutrition completely for free. It was just incredible. It just kind of blew my mind. I was like, wow, this is the kind of gift giving and reciprocity that we need to see in the world. Just the whole natural abundance sort of thing really blew my mind. And so at that time, very early on, I started, I guess Sarah and I, we worked together a lot, developing For the Love of Bees. And I, in those early stages, was working with community groups kind of all around Auckland, from the Chinese Presbyterian church in town to preschools and elderly and school kids, and we were planting flowers for bees. And straight away, I just, it's in my nature, I found this really wonderful thing that I'm passionate about and I want to share it. And so I was like, man, let's just get growing everywhere all at once. And the teaching involved through that, which was looking at the ecosystem through the lens of a bee, and looking at different diversity of plants and how they can grow together, and what we can learn from them in terms of the whole world, and how it functions from a biological to a chemistry level, and that you can bring the moon and the sun and the water and the earth. They're just wonderful metaphors, plants, and our relationship with them. And to be honest, like very in the early days, it was of great sadness to me that I guess that was sort of the big thing, was I was like, man, I haven't really been exposed to this. And sort of currently what's happening in the world, you ask, people where vegetables, or children where vegetables come from, they'll say, the supermarket or whatever. Who knows where the fields in which, and the soil in which or the complete lack of soil that the vegetables come from that you eat. And I was just like, this is amazing that at somewhere along the line, in terms of and what happened post-industrial revolution, actually, we just dropped that. We just dropped the whole kind of agriculture thing, and it just sort of became somewhere else, and the human progress just sort of got lifted up. But yeah, that's potentially getting a bit sidetracked there. But going around the city, teaching many groups about this, and For the Love of Bees had got pretty established at that point. I think when OMG started, which was coming up to 3.5 years ago. This is our 4th season, which is pretty cool. And before OMG, there was another that plot of land there was owned by the City Rail Link, and the City
This is the
Rail
plot of
Link.
land behind you.
Yeah, the plot of
In the
land
photo,
behind
yeah.
me. But before this, it was just a grassy kind of field with a bunch of kind of planter boxes and some sort of crawling. But it had been loved by people, which was really special. Like, people had planted wildflowers, people had made it really pretty good attempts at growing food, but for the sort of where the site is, it's a very high profile site, right in the middle of Auckland, with a massive amount of potential. The landowners, the City Rail Link, they didn't like how it was, I guess, being used at that time, and they approached us for the love of bees with basically the proposition, say, hey, look, we've got this land. This land's gonna be here for the next while. And we love you, we love your project, we want to collaborate with you, and what do you think you can do with it? And so that was really exciting, and that was a core team of about, I think there was about 6 of us, and we got together and we were like, okay, what do we want to achieve here? We love growing plants, but the real elephant in the room, man, it's the real big elephant in the room in all these climate conversations, and it is actual food production and agriculture. So we're not talking about gardens. We're talking about farms. We're talking about places that produce food, essential food, nutrition for humans who live on the earth. So we wanted to essentially just start an organic market garden. And I'd grown gardens before. I'd never grown a farm. And we all workshopped and came up with, I guess, the concept and the name, and we wanted to create an entirely circular system. We wanted to basically, from the get-go, adopt strategies of growing that were friendly to the climate. Not only friendly to the climate, but actually immensely enhancing to the climate, or you could even call it reversing to the current way that the climate's going. And so, yeah, it's been just this amazing sort of journey, learning how to run a business, learning how to grow thousands and thousands of kilos of vegetables for the local community, how to distribute that. The main challenge was, okay, can we actually grow this? And the big thing that we wanted to do was prove that it actually was economically sustainable, so that the business of the urban farm can actually pay its own way as a business, and pay for the wages and the expenses of the running of the farm. So that was sort of the first thing. And yeah, we made that list, a big visioning document, about 3 or 4 years ago, and since then it's just been it's been one heck of a ride, and we've accomplished basically everything that we set out to accomplish and more. What we've learned over this time has just been incredible, yeah.
Because from what you're saying, you haven't just established a garden or a farm, but you've established a system, right? You've established a distribution network, you've established a customer base. And this is quite different from, I think, a lot of people's perceptions of, I guess, what is best called a community garden, where you have a bunch of volunteers who grow vegetables when they feel like it.
Yeah.
Your kind of consistent output every week, because you've got to deliver for those customers you've set up, and you're also paying all your staff, right?
Yeah.
Or most of them, yeah.
Totally. So we've got a lot of community gardens in Auckland, and that's awesome. And very early on in the piece, it was sort of one of my things. I stopped being frustrated about people calling it community garden, but it's a community farm, because that's that main difference, is that gardens grow plants and farms grow food. And there's these really big problems out there facing the world, and we see what we're doing here on the site as a very tangible and effective pathway to not only like radically reverse climate change, but to increase population health, because people are just eating better. There's a local economy, so everyone that gets the veggie box lives locally, and they walk to it. It's developing a community resilience, and it's actually a model of doing business that, if you were like a multinational, you'd look at it and you'd be like, nah, man, like that's too limited, like we can't just expand these, but I guess it's what's beautiful about it is we've sort of created from scratch what we believe to, well, not from scratch, but we've created using bits and pieces, with using our imagination. So really just questioning most things. Questioning, is this the best system for what we want to achieve? This is how everyone else is doing it. Do we have to do it that way? For instance, we have produced, it must be close to 3 ton of salad mix now, and we haven't used a single plastic or compostable bag, not one. No rubber bands to tie up things. There's not a single piece of single-use packaging that we've used to package our goods, and that's because of the model that we run at the farm, which, that would be, I guess, quite interesting to talk about.
Yeah, please do.
Because there's those community gardens out there who are, I guess, dependent on funding and volunteering and stuff, and it's just constantly having to throw inputs into these spaces, and the outputs are beautiful. They're the relationships and the connection that these people get, that this community gets with the farm. But what we've got all of that and more, and not only that, it's sustainable. So when we started, from the very get-go, I was like, okay, let's develop relationships and let's get building community with everyone that is around us. So immediately we got involved with the whole lot of chefs and restaurants, which was really cool because they're super passionate people. They really value fresh produce and provenance and origins and good flavor and good taste, which is really what you get from organic gardens, organic farms, I should say. And so we started right away selling sort of flowers and herbs to cafes like the French Cafe across the road, and Jamaica Street, and that was really cool. We sort of got going. We had that community rolling, and that was really building up a good following for us. But it wasn't actually paying the bills, and it was stuck within the same model of sort of, I guess, distribution, which is basically like, you're a grower, you produce a good, that good, then you've got a certain amount of goods that are available, and then someone will place an order for that, and then you'll go out and you'll harvest that order, and then you'll deliver that order, and then you'll invoice for that order. And that was just a lot of work and a lot of time. And now I am so proud, 3.5 years later, to say that, I just don't take orders anymore. It's so great to not take orders.
So all your customers are paying in advance, right? People are paying
Yes.
for 10 weeks or a season. How does that work?
Yes. So we used to do the I guess that model, and then we started, I guess, producing these vegetable boxes, because we were like, man, we've grown so much food here and we can't get rid of it all to these restaurants. So let's just start offering these veggie boxes to the local community. And the veggie boxes is basically like whatever we've got in the farm that is ready to harvest it all up, put it in a lovely big box like a bouquet. And then the local community were like, they were just selling like hotcakes. It was awesome. But really, why we started this project is, it's not it's not just like any other farm. We're doing this because we believe that it is a model for a better future in urban areas, a more healthy, prosperous future where we are connected and resilient communities that, I guess, embrace nature. And it's the idea that the food for the city can actually come from within the city. So we're doing this because we want to inspire people, we want to teach people. And so if we're following this model as a business of just like, okay, we're just a farmer out there to do that, that's actually not what the project's about. And we realize that, man, there's heaps of people out there that love this and that want to see more of this. And to this day, most people that I've met, and those people are in their hundreds, that I've met at the farm, like most people are like, wow, we need more of these, we need more of them now. So what we did is we introduced a very well-known system overseas called a CSA, which is community supported agriculture. And it is as simple as the name suggests. The community support the agriculture. So the farm exists within a geographic region. The people that live within that region or that area, they know of that space. They really like what that farm does. It's a very difficult job to be a farmer. It can be very, very challenging. And it's also not a job, you're an essential service. It's not a job where you're not going to make millions and millions of dollars from it. It's a humble job. You're providing food for people, which feels really good. And so what those people do is they say, yep, this is a really cool project, I want to support it. And what they do is they pay a subscription fee, which is our vegetable boxes are $35 per week. And that is paid for in advance for a whole season. So at the moment we're coming to the second month of the end of the second month of spring, and then once December arrives, it will be the summer season, and then some people from the last season will drop off, and some new people will come on in. But basically, we have 36. We produce 36 of these vegetable boxes every week, and these people, our supporters, community supported agriculture, they pay that fee to support us, and they pay for that before they've actually received any produce, and that's because they want to support us. And then all we have to do for the next season is worry about we don't worry about it, but we focus on doing what we do, which is growing as much plants in as little space as possible to as greater quality, so that we can feed as many people.
And you've had way more demand than you've been able to supply for people wanting the veggie boxes, is that correct?
Yeah, it's incredible actually, the demand that we're getting, and with every lockdown the demand gets more and more and more. I'll add in as well.
So how easy is this model to replicate, Levi? Like, can we see gardens like OMG pop up all over the city? Is that plausible?
It is exceptionally easy to replicate. Going back, because I did give a little history, like we used to do those sales to chefs, and we used to do the one-off sales, and the minute the season that we switched to community supported agriculture model, that's when the business started working. The business wasn't working before that. And the moment we did that, immediately a whole lot of things happened. The farm got more productive for a start, because I was spending less time running around delivering things and harvesting to order. We harvest on Tuesdays and Fridays, and that's it. The local community, in order to sign up, I sort of kind of vet people just to make sure they don't live on the shore or out in Remuera or something like that. They've got
so they can pick up easily.
Yeah, the closer that they live, the easier it is for them to get on the list. And I say you have to live within walking distance, and that's just been incredible for us, because and those people as well, they bring all their own bags to collect the vegetables in, and they take them home. So they collect them the same. We harvest them all in the morning on a regular day. So this is sort of pre-COVID. Tuesdays and Friday mornings, those are drop-in volunteering days. So anyone can rock up at any point in time during that morning and help with the harvest, and they can learn about that. And then afterwards, we go on and we sow microgreens and we plant seedlings and we learn about stuff. So it's a real community event those days. But in answer to your question, the demand for fresh produce is so high. It really is quite incredible. It is not difficult to get people through to support these projects. It is, and that is it's pretty sweet to get a $455 payment as a one-off. And that's just not a difficult thing to come by at all, which is quite amazing, because I'm looking at it, and now that I actually kind of got my head around how to grow vegetables well, and it's a little bit less stressful and a lot more easier for me now. I'm sort of seeing like, oh yeah, man, this is something that's definitely achievable. It's definitely scalable. And the cool thing about it is that you're building a community at the same time as growing the vegetables. You're creating something that is truly unique and very beautiful, as well as obviously rehabilitating and restoring a piece of land. I have met so many people, and I have witnessed so many friendships be made. Like we've had stuff like people. There's a massive amount of apartments around us, and yeah, so we've had like sort of 4 people on the same floor of an apartment all get veggie boxes, because one of them gets in and then the other one gets in, and then they do cool stuff like one of them's busy for one day, so they'll just get another person to pick it up for them, and then you've just got this, like, we're a business, but then through how we've designed it, we're all of a sudden encouraging this interactions within this community that it's just really beautiful. And the other thing as well is that people come to the farm to collect it, which is really important, because just like as I said in the beginning, Jeremy, it's of great sadness that people don't know where their produce comes from. And that to me, every time someone comes in to collect their box, I get to meet them, I get to have a conversation with them, and they get to meet the farmer who's and the people that have grown their produce. But not only that, they get to be there and have a connection to that land in which the nutrition is coming from, and that alone is just having that experience time and time again, like that, for me, that's direct action. That is direct action. That is immensely. So I sort of see that as being quite revolutionary. But it's like undercover. It's just putting it in front of people. And if we plant the way that we do, you want these places to be inspiring. That they've got to have like explosions of colors and shapes and forms, and there's bees and butterflies and wasps, and there's children and adults, and it's just really cool, man. It kind of ticks all the boxes, which I think a lot of people out there, especially potential funders and stuff, there's so many different avenues to pitch for a project like this, and it's just really interesting because it kind of does everything. It does a whole lot of things, and each one of them is beautiful.
So the model is replicable, Levi, but what about the land part of the equation? Where does that come from? Like, do you look at public space, public parks, and that kind of thing, or are there pockets like the one that OMG now occupies that are accessible on kind of medium-term basis? How do you think that can be resolved?
Well, the first thing is that the land. I mean, I guess we've been doing OMG. This is our 4th season, right? And it takes about 3 seasons for you to have any idea or confidence, I guess, in what you're doing. That's the thing with growing. If you want to learn how to farm, like, you know, like certain things, like if you want to learn how to do accounting, you could probably just cram in and learn to account in 4 weeks. You know, you probably could, but if you want to learn to farm, you just can't do that. It's not 4 weeks, it's 4 years. And so we've been developing this model for that amount of time. And that's where we're at now, is we're at the point where we wanted to prove that it was possible. We've proved that it was possible. It's brilliant. It's working so well. It's making waves. That's not even to mention all the other amazing stuff that For the Love of Bees, you know, that has sort of come from OMG through. I guess we've done Earthworkers. We've done an Earthworkers program, which actually is like an education program, Horticulture 101, which teaches people how to do that, and teaches people all in depth about the model. And so I think we've got about, you know, pretty soon we'll have close to 100 earthworkers that have done that. There has been a handful of farms and young farmers that have come and volunteered, interned, just turned up here every day, 4 times a week for 3 months, and then they've gone off and they've done their own thing. And I remember when we started, there was only a handful of farms in the country, and now there's multiple handfuls. There's a bundle of hands, you know, and it's really a growing movement. And in terms of rolling that out, like it's definitely possible. One of the main limitations is land, and what I will say is the other main limitation is I guess people can't imagine what these farms are like, because currently they don't exist. This is why we did OMG, and this is why it's important that people come to see OMG, to see what is possible. Because, and this is also, you know, I guess why we do what we do, because it's got to inspire, you know. But yeah, we're at the point now where ideally we're gonna get some land. We're gonna get a whole lot more land. That land there's a bunch of things that the land has to have, or that it's good that it has. The first requirement is obviously sunlight. So it's got to have decent exposure to the sunlight. So it's got to be northeast or northwest facing, basically. Water, access to water is another big one. And then access for other things, such as, you know, deliveries of compost or whatever. There's a bunch of logistics, but it's really easy to get, I guess, bogged down with the obstacles that you've got to overcome when you want to set up one of these farms, but it's actually incredibly easy. A lot of people, that's really what I've learned, is that plants want to grow. And since, I guess, being mentored, because I've been mentored through numerous mentors under For the Love of Bees in the OMG project, yeah, I've just been really, really well trained, and it's become a lot clearer to me. There's 2 main things you need. Obviously, there needs to be some soil, but it's seedlings and compost. There's absolutely no shortage of land out there, Jeremy. There is absolutely no shortage of land, and there's no shortage of land. There's no shortage of enthusiasm, volunteers, people that want to learn, and I also believe there's no shortage of money out there to fund these projects. And also there's also in terms of setting up these projects, it's not big dollars in the scale of things. It really isn't, not for the impact that they have. There's certain bits of infrastructure that you need, but also like there's massive potential in crowdfunding that as well, and just adopting that CSA model right from the get-go, and being like, all right, who are our CSA members? Who wants to be the community that supports this agriculture? And let's just pay for your veggie boxes up front. That'll give us money to pay for wages that we can start growing them, and then at a certain point, your veggies will start rolling in, and we'll have a farm established. Boom. It's quite easy, and so we're in conversation around that, and we really want to hear from anyone out there that has land that they want to see this happen in, because I tell you what, it's incredible what can be achieved. Yeah.
Something you said to me a while ago has really stayed with me, and you were talking about you were and you still are, you were an activist, and you attended a lot of protests, and you had a lot of issues you were passionate about. But you told me that you were angry a lot of the time. And it strikes me that the role you've now found yourself in, you're still an activist, but you've found a way to do that while being fulfilled personally as well. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I can. I guess because there's so many problems out there in the world. I used to work for Greenpeace. I've been arrested, got dragged off the streets in Wellington protesting for the TPPA. That was great. Dressed up as a clown in protests, of organised protests. And yeah, man, what a draining time that was. It was great. It plays a very valuable role in society, my heart and all my energy and my empathy and love goes out to those people that are out there doing that, because that's a necessary thing, and that's a part of democracy that we all have to. That's how it works. There's been some incredible social changes that have happened through activism and direct action, but man, it's definitely not for everyone. And it got me pretty dark. It got me pretty low. And I guess when I realized, I guess it's because I'm an artist, and I look at most things as I do through that lens that I guess Elam School of Fine Arts taught me, which is the lens of I guess it's contemporary thought, or I guess it's very tricky to describe what art school gives you, but it's a way of perceiving and perceiving the world and analysing situations, critical thought, and I guess just having the idea that there's so much natural space out there, or space that just is aching, crying to explode into green shapes and forms. Any lawn is a prime example, or just any kind of manicured garden, really. Humans, we want to really constrain it, but I was sort of, because I guess direct action, it really is direct action to be. Your cities are concrete jungles. We love concreting over shit, destroying nature, chopping shit down, but there's this real fine balance because we really value it at the same time. But in terms of how it's manifested in the real world, it doesn't happen. We've just got I guess car parks with empty roofs and fields that just get mowed, and it's sort of like, man, like I sort of see it as like graffiti but with plants. It's just such an empowering thing to do, to grow food for people, and to put food in front of people. It's incredible what happens. when I've known, and I know when it works because I've had a lot of people. I've seen that location. No, OMG, the location behind me it's transformed myself entirely. I've become a radically better person because of it. I've learned so much about all kinds of groups of societies, walks in life, about land and everything. And yeah, it's incredible to see that change happen in other people as well. There's been a handful of people, and I've actually got told by a couple of people that OMG saved their lives, which for me was like, oh my God, man, I'm just having a good time here. But that's, you know, that's just amazing. And I guess like when people walk into the farm, there's this kind of face that they when someone sees it for the first time, they'll kind of walk in and it's like they're just sort of someone's throwing some fresh air at them, or like they've just kind of got slapped in the face, and they do this thing where they kind of like they'll notice something, or they'll look at a very beautiful patch of the garden and they'll just stare into blank space, and you know that they're having these deep internal kind of processes and stuff. And people come in and they're like, wow, man, this is amazing, you know, we need to do more of these. And I was like, yeah, fuck yeah, we do, you know, like come join me, you know, let's go. And it's just incredible how it works like that and how fractal it is. And I guess the thing is, why I hopped from activism to this is that this is it's love centered for a starter. It's centered around love, hence the name of the project, For the Love of Bees. But you know, regardless of that, I've always had a big heart for my whole life, and the approach that we have to take going forwards to all of the issues in the world is with love and compassion at our center. It's very important.
That's such a good answer, Levi. Hey, I just wanted to hit you with a few quick fire questions that are coming through on the chat, if that's okay. One is, do you provide the opportunity for people to come and compost their veggie scraps with you?
Yes.
You do?
So yep. So that is a whole other model which I didn't mention when I described the OMG project. And maybe I should hark back because we do the vegetable seedlings. We do the vegetable box CSAs. We have also done salad mix CSAs, which is the similar thing, but it's just for salad mix. So you don't get turnips or tomatoes or cucumbers with that, just get your regular salad mix. We also do seedlings. We produce seedlings because very much, as I said before, this project is about empowering people to learn to get out there and to grow using regenerative organic growing methods. So we're going to talk about those growing methods soon. But the seedlings are really good. So we're actually this Friday and Saturday, we're getting rid of 100 packs, 100. So there's about 6,400 seedlings that are going to go out to 100 different households around Auckland, which is really cool. And people can also buy a summer seedling CSA as well off us, which are selling right now. And then there is the composting as well. So people can drop off their own, they can drop off their organic waste. Their, you know, sort of leftover stir fry and their paper towels and stuff like that. And we'll get that and we'll turn it into beautiful, rich, soft smelling black gold called compost, which fuels the whole of the horticultural operation. And compost fuels urban farming, so it's a very important thing. And also capturing that resource, capturing that waste resource that's currently out there and turning it into something that is you know, gonna be locked back into the soil and then be cycled back into vegetables that go back out to the local community. So it just goes around in a big thing like this, and it's really awesome. So yeah, that's like $17.50 a month, and people can drop up to 20 litres, and businesses as well can subscribe. We basically, like, there's a way for anyone to get involved. That's really very much the kaupapa of it.
Naomi's asked if there's a way for council land such as parks, a lot of which are grass and a lot of which have marginal areas, to be used for projects like yours. Is that something you're looking at?
Councils?
Sorry, to use council spaces for gardens like OMG.
Oh mate, we would love to do that. And we've been in conversation with council for a very long time now about it, and they're yet to offer us any land to do it with. So please, council people, let's go. No, I'd love to. But really, we've been in conversation with them for a while now. This needs to happen now, and access to land just shouldn't be the factor that slows us down to that level. There's a thing with I guess, and I couldn't speak to the council, but I guess it is public land. So, which brings me back to the model of the CSA and the community supporting the agriculture being the most important thing. Yeah, but man, if council, let's just think imaginatively here, but we have a massive amount of empty grass sort of lands just getting mowed. If we farmed all of them, I'd love to do the math on this, but I'm pretty sure we'd be able to produce every single leafy green and a few other substantial crops for the whole of Auckland City. The food that is produced from within the city can come from within. The food that the city eats can come from within the city. To give you an idea of the kind of production that we're hitting at the moment at OMG, we have 310 square meters of beds in production. Those 310 square meters, actually there's about 360, because we've got another little location as well. But they support at the moment about 36 vegetable boxes. And those 36 vegetable boxes equates to 468 boxes per season. I'd also like to note that that is 468 conversations that we've had with the local community, interactions. And so that's about pretty close to 2,000 vegetable boxes per year that we're producing. And the average weight of those vegetable boxes is 2 kilos. So that's about 4 tonnes of harvestable, delicious food per year coming off this very small site. If you amplified out how large some of these parks or golf courses are, we've done the math on this, and a rugby field, which I'd love to do, by the way, if anyone's got a rugby field out there. A rugby field can feed, using our systems, 500 families in perpetuity forever. That's incredible.
Let's talk about methods, Levi. Sorry, I just thought we should get on the gardening section. It's regenerative gardening. Can you talk about what that is? Regenerative organic, yeah. Because somebody was asking about fertilizer before, and I thought, you don't use any synthetic fertilizer whatsoever, right?
Yeah, and this is my favorite thing to talk to people about, because it is very much the most important thing. So we are a regenerative organic farm that uses, we call it biology first practices. What we mean by biology first is that we put the health of the soil first before anything, because plants don't grow their produce and their harvestable crops alone. Though in the conventional model, they do. That plants, we plow a field, we plant those seedlings, and we feed them with synthetic fertilizer, hence that question of what kind of fertilizer do you use to make the plants grow? The first thing is that plants don't grow themselves. Plants grow in collaboration with a living soil life, okay? That living soil life is full, a living soil is full of billions, trillions of living microorganisms that range in size from the smallest being, fungi, a single hyphase, a single cell in width, right through to earthworms, and anything and everything in between: bacteria, fungi, nematodes, protozoa. That life in the soil is being fed by the plants, and how the plants feed them is because the plants are they are the original solar panel. Okay, we're constantly going on about solar technology and how amazing it is. Dude, look at a bloody plant, man. Like, these guys are incredible. They take the energy from the sun and they turn it into matter, right? Sugar, essentially, carbohydrates. And they use that sugar to produce stuff like their leaves and their fruits and stuff. But it's way more complex than that. They have the capacity, or I guess you'd call it the photosynthetic potential, to photosynthesize, so to take energy from the sun to turn it into sugar. And what plants do, because plants are very generous beings, they produce way more sugar than they need. If it's a hot sunny day, they're gonna go hard, and then every evening what they do is they take that sugar, and where do they put it? They feed it to the soil life underneath them. So they feed it to the fungi and the bacteria, and they flush it through their roots, these simple sugars, like a toilet flushing out. And all of the soil life is eating that up, and that soil life, those bacteria and those fungi, they take that sugar, they digest it, they use it for what they will, and then they feed it back to the plant. So it's a symbiotic relationship. Plants are incredibly good collaborators. There's a lot we can learn from them. They work with the soil life, and different plants will work with completely different groups of microorganisms as well. So this is, you're starting to see why we plant lots of diverse plants close together, because those diverse plants are then feeding a diverse range of soil microorganisms. So those soil microorganisms are eating those simple sugars, digesting them, and then they feed those sugars back to the plant as a more complex sugar, with minerals attached to them. So a plant in itself can't just grab its plant roots and be like, oh, I need phosphorus, I'm gonna get that. That they don't do that. That phosphorus or that magnesium or that silicon is in the soil, but in order to make that, give that plant what it needs, we need the microbiology for that to happen. So what it's all about, and this is the number one thing, is it's all about growing plants. And this seems like a funny thing to say, right? Because it's quite weird, because I walk into lots of farms, and if you go on Google Maps and you look at Pukekohe, what you'll see is bare, empty fields. You'll see a lot of tilled and ploughed soil, and these are the fields from people that are supposed to be farming it, right? So if we've got beautiful plants, ideally those plants are as tall as possible. We want them to be as tall and as dense and diverse as possible. If they are that way, then they are feeding the maximum amount of sugars of the maximum diversity to the soil microorganisms, who are then enabling all kinds of magical things to happen, like they're giving the plants access to certain minerals. In the case of fungi, and having mycorrhizal fungi in your soil, they're probably the best number one thing that you can have if you want to talk about water retention in your soil. So holding on to water, and farming in a time of drought or water scarcity. It's all about encouraging the soil to do its thing. And very importantly, one of the main things that we do is we try and keep that green. So here's the farm behind me, you notice that it's green all over. Wintertime it's green, summertime it's green, springtime it's green, and it's green right now up to my, pretty consistently up to my knees. And that's because we're keeping the soil covered, we're not disturbing it. Another really important thing is that we never dig over the soil, ever. Because when you do that, you disrupt all the wonderful work that those plant roots, the earthworms and the fungi and the bacteria have been doing. The moment you stick a spade into the ground and turn it over on its head, you've just obliterated all kinds of fungi and bacteria. You've really come through, and the idea that you have to mechanically aerate soils, it's just a lie. You don't have to. Plants are the things that do that. If you feel like you've got a compact soil and you want to sort of bring more life to that and make it more free draining, our approach to it is, what can we plant there that's going to grow, that's going to help to break the soil up? Leeks, carrots, potatoes, all of those things have roots that are smashing into the soil, breaking it up in a natural way. We don't till it, we don't dig it, we never touch it, simply because we don't have to. And since we've stopped doing that, because we used to do that because the majority of the agricultural world still does, since we've stopped doing that, it's been amazing to watch the numbers of earthworms that we've had come back to the soil, and just radical improvements in crop health over the years. So when we're done with the crop and we want to transition to another crop, everything just gets chopped off with a handsaw. This simple gardening technology, just slice it off right at the base of the soil, and then we put a little bit of compost on if we need to. You can even do like the teeniest little bit of compost. The main thing compost is microbial inoculum. And then we plant into that with mature seedlings. Okay, we don't worry about direct seeding many things like carrots. Carrots we direct seed, beans we direct seed, but most of the time we're here for production and to produce stuff, and we want our farm to be green all the time, because then we're doing a good job. Like if there's a weed there, you've just given it space to grow. You should have just planted a coriander there or something, man. Like, waste of opportunity, right? So yeah, there's lots of things that we do. No-till. The other thing that we do is we foliar feed every week with beneficial microorganisms, because our practice is about supporting and encouraging life. Need to move away from the things that we need to add this sort of fertilizer to make this plant grow. Plants are very good at growing that themselves, and the soil will do that. And if there's, it's very easy to overdo lime. It's very easy to overdo fish fertilizer or seaweed and all that kind of stuff when you're applying it. But there is no limit to the amount of beneficial microorganisms that you can put on. So that's what we do, is we feed the plants through root drenches through the soil, but we also spray fine mists of beneficial microorganisms that you can actually buy from us at the farm onto their leaves, and the plants have the ability to absorb them right through their leaves, and that's a really awesome way of growing. Yeah, lots of things. So densely and diversely. What I'll do quickly is I've just got a quick, if I go to my background, here's a little crop bar. Here you go, mate. Welcome to one of the beds. So we've got leeks running through the middle. We've got along the edges, we've got coriander and bok choy, coriander, bok choy, and then we've got carrots and radishes kind of around here. The coriander, the bok choy, and the radishes get harvested off first, and then the carrots come out and they fill that space, and then the carrots and the leeks are harvested at the end. And so this is a winter guild that we use, and this is planted, I guess, all the way down the row. And yeah, we've got about 6 or 7 species along that line. And that's really the number that we aim for kind of all the time. The other thing is we end up having a lot more species than that because we embrace all life. We love it. If the weeds come up through it, we might have to do a selective weed of certain bad, I guess, bad species that are there, but or like annoying species. But really, we'll just, the idea is that if you want to get ahead of your weeds, you just plant really, really, really dense and diversely, and harvest that off through time.
Levi, it's so good, and I'm sorry to say that we're coming to our sort of self-imposed time limit, but I wondered if, because you're so inspiring in the way you speak, I wondered if you could finish maybe by just talking about ways people can direct the energy they might be coming away from this session with, whether it's by volunteering for OMG or planting themselves, or what do you suggest to people to take this to the next stage of whatever vegetable growing journey they want to go on?
Yeah, so the first thing that I'll say is, if you are truly interested in this and you want to do a project like that, come to OMG, but also register your interest for the Love of Bees Earthworkers course, because that is really where you're going to get the information that you need. And if you think this is inspiring, you know, like come learn about this stuff for 5 days with us, and then you'll actually come away with a really tangible, a really holistic sort of vision on exactly what it is that we're doing and how we do it. And the other thing would be, I guess, to find us more land. And the other thing would be to turn up at OMG. We hope very soon to be able to have people come through again. Before these lockdowns, we were doing really awesome after work working bees on Wednesdays, which anyone can rock up to, as well. Tuesdays and Friday mornings are really good. But yeah, you can follow us for the Love of Bees and OMG on Instagram as well. And the other thing is, if you want to support us, you can get a summer seedling CSA. And you can just email omgseedlings@gmail.com to sign up to one of them.
So great, thank you, Levi. You're so inspiring to chat to, and I really appreciate that. For everybody that's still here on the conversation, this is being recorded and we'll post it at the end of Levi's interview on the Britomart website, britomart.org, so you can look that up. I'll put that up tonight so you can share it or refer back to it if you need to. Thank you to Michelle and the Climate Festival team for putting on this great festival, but most of all, thanks to you, Levi, for your time tonight, but also your energy and your enthusiasm in kind of showing the city how this can be done.
My absolute pleasure. Thank you, Jeremy.
Thank you, and mate wa, everybody. Have a good night. Bye-bye.
Bye.